This weekend I'm in Seville and this is the Plaza de España.
I flew to Madrid, stayed overnight near the airport, and the next morning I took the train from Atocha station in Madrid to Seville. The distance is almost 400 kilometres and the journey takes around 2.5 hours.
I've just arrived in Seville. Behind me is the train station, that's where I've just come from. It's really, really hot. It's already about 28 degrees and compared to the UK where it's about 12 at the moment, it's a big difference. So I'm staying at a hostel nearby and I'm going to check in now and then I'm going to have a look at the old town. I'm now sat at the Plaza de España. This is a really stunning square and is one of the main attractions in Seville. It was built in 1929 for an exposition, an Ibero-Americas exposition. There's 4 bridges on the square to represent the 4 kingdoms of Spain. There's a canal that runs through the square and you can hire a small boat to go on the canal if that's what you want to do. It can get very hot on here because it's so wide open. There are some buildings at the side that you could go in to get some shade, and there's also a park just a few steps away called Maria Luisa Park, and that's got lots of trees and shade in it. This square is about 1 kilometre or maybe slightly more than that away from the cathedral and the old town. There are no cafes and restaurants on the square, so you won't be able to have a full meal here. But just outside there are some kiosks selling drinks and ice cream, so at least you can get something to cool down with. But just bear in mind the distance from the old town because it might be too hot sometimes to walk that distance. So now I'm just going to have a look around everything in more detail and then I'm going back to the riverfront for a boat trip.
The architectural design is a combination of Renaissance Revival and Moorish Revival styles. This blend reflects Seville's historic connection to both Christian and Islamic cultures. The plaza covers an area of 50,000 square metres and is surrounded by a huge building in the shape of a crescent. Along the base of the building are 48 tiled alcoves, each decorated with traditional painted tiles known as azulejos, which represent the different provinces of Spain. The Torre del Oro, or Tower of Gold, was built in the 12th century with the purpose of controlling shipping on the Guadalquivir River. A heavy chain ran under the water from the tower to the other side to prevent enemy ships from sailing on the river. In later centuries, the Spanish sailors used to store gold here, which they brought back from their journeys to Latin America. The Guadalquivir River stretches about 657 kilometres or 408 miles, making it the 5th longest river in Spain. The river's name is derived from the Arabic Wadi al-Kabir, meaning the Great River, reflecting the region's Moorish history. Seville owes much of its historical wealth to the Guadalquivir River. It was a key port during the Age of Discovery, and ships sailed from here to the Americas. So I just checked into my room. This is Hostal Sevilla Santa Justa. It's not far from the train station, it's just a single room. So when I come to the bigger cities in Spain, I tend to book a hostel rather than a hotel. A hostel, which is not the same as a hostel, ending in EL in English. In Spain, a hostel is more like a small hotel where I still get my own bathroom, but the room might be smaller and I wouldn't have a mini bar or a restaurant maybe, or a gym or facilities like that. For me, this is fine. I have aircon as well, so I have everything I need. I have somewhere to hang my clothes, so I don't feel like I'm missing anything, and I hardly spend any time in the room. I'm going to be outside all the time. This morning I've booked an excursion to 2 historic sites that are just outside the city centre, about 5 kilometres away. The first one is a Roman amphitheatre and the second one is an old monastery. So I booked this with Get Your Guide. They don't pick up individual accommodation, so you make your way to a central point. They give you a choice of maybe 3 or 4 central points where they do the pickups. And this is a 4-hour excursion, so it's 10 till 2, so I've still got the afternoon free in the city centre. This is the old Roman town of Italica. It was built in the 3rd century BC. It didn't last very long apparently. It was abandoned after just a few centuries. This part of the site is the houses, and some of them have some really nice mosaic floors in them, and those are original. The rest of the town, the older part of the town, is under some houses nearby, so we'll never be able to see that. And then there's a huge amphitheatre that we're going to have a look at next. Italica was founded in the year 206 BC, and it was the first Roman settlement in Spain. Italica's amphitheatre was the 3rd largest in the Roman Empire at the time, and it seated 25,000 spectators, about half as many as the Colosseum in Rome. But the city's population at the time is estimated to have been only 8,000 people. The city reached its peak during the reign of Emperor Hadrian, who was born here. It had extensive public baths, well-designed streets, sewers and a forum. Our guide told us that the sewage system here still works today. The ruins include remnants of houses with beautiful mosaics and frescoes, reflecting the wealth and sophistication of the Roman inhabitants. The mosaics here are some of the best preserved in Spain. Italica began to decline by the 3rd century AD due to changing political and economic circumstances. The Guadalquivir River had changed course, affecting trade routes, and the region faced increasing instability due to external invasions. By the Middle Ages, Italica was largely abandoned, with much of its stone used to build nearby towns in the Seville area. The monastery of San Isidoro del Campo was founded in the year 1301 by a duke called Alonso Pérez de Guzmán, known as Guzmán el Bueno, and his wife Maria for a family burial place. It was built close to the ruins of Italica, as it was believed that San Isidoro of Seville was buried there before his remains were moved to the city of Leon centuries later. The monastery remained under the administration of successive religious orders until monastic activity ended in 1978. The first translation of the Bible into Spanish was completed here in the 16th century. For lunch, I headed to the area around Calle Trajano and the Alameda de Hércules because this part of the city is full of restaurants and tapas bars. I had patatas bravas with mushroom croquettes. After the fall of the Roman Empire, Seville was controlled by the Visigoths until the Moors conquered it in the 8th century. Under Islamic rule, Seville flourished as a centre of art, science and culture, becoming one of the most important cities in the region known as Al-Andalus. In 1248, King Ferdinand III of Castile captured Seville during the Reconquista, and it became part of Christian Spain. The city had gained immense wealth by the 16th century, as it was Spain's gateway to the New World, controlling much of the trade with the Americas through its port on the Guadalquivir River. The Cathedral of Seville is the largest Gothic cathedral in the world and one of the most significant religious and architectural landmarks in Spain. Located in the heart of Seville, it was built on the site of a former mosque and serves as a symbol of the city's Christian triumph after the Reconquista. It is also a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The cathedral was constructed between 1401 and 1506, following Seville's reconquest from the Moors in 1248. The Christian rulers decided to build a new structure on the site of the former mosque, which had been the city's main Islamic place of worship. The minaret of the old mosque, known as the Giralda Tower, was preserved and transformed into the cathedral's bell tower. It was originally built as part of the mosque in the late 12th century. You can climb up the 35 stories to the top for views over the city, but note that you can only walk up as there is no lift.
The building behind me is known as Setas de Sevilla. Setas means mushrooms in Spanish, and that's because it's shaped like some mushrooms. Allegedly, it's the biggest wooden structure in the world. If you think there's a bigger one, let me know in the comments. For now, I'm going to go inside and have a look, and there is a mirador, like a viewpoint at the top where you get the lift up. You have to pay a small amount and then you get views of the whole city. This is open till quite late at night as well, and I think they light it all up at night so you can go in there and have a look when it's all lit up too.
Las Setas de Sevilla is officially known as Metropole Parasol. The building consists of several levels. The basement is where you'll find the antiquarium, where you can see Roman and Moorish ruins. The ground floor level is a shaded open space for public gatherings, markets and events. The first floor houses a marketplace with local food vendors and shops, and the top level has a panoramic terrace and elevated walkways which offer stunning 360-degree views of Seville's skyline, including the Giralda Tower and the cathedral.
I've just been up to the very top, to the mirador of Setas de Sevilla. I've just come back down one level so that I can talk to the camera because it's a bit too windy up at the top. But behind me you can see the cathedral and the Giralda Tower. I was up the Giralda Tower about an hour ago, but it's still worth coming up to this viewpoint because you're getting different views over a different part of the city. This is the Triana district in Seville. This is the opposite side of the river, away from the main attractions like the cathedral and the Alcazar. It seems to be much quieter here and it's very picturesque. I came here tonight because I went to a flamenco show in the theatre just behind me there. Tomorrow's my last full day here, so I think I'm going to spend some time on this side of the river. Apparently it's a bit cheaper to eat here too, but I'm looking forward to coming here tomorrow and exploring it a bit more.
The Alcazar was originally built as a Moorish fort in the 10th century, and it has evolved over the centuries and remains one of Spain's most iconic landmarks. It's still used today by the Spanish royal family, making it the oldest royal palace in Europe that is still in use.
So I made it to the Alcazar this morning. I had to buy my ticket in advance and it has a time on it. Luckily it's a little bit flexible. You can come in 15 minutes before or 30 minutes after your time slot. I had a bit of a problem this morning because I was following directions from Google Maps. So I would say don't follow directions from Google Maps because it took me to the university. I had to ask two people where this was. Luckily I speak Spanish, so that's not really an issue. I would say if you're going to follow directions on Google Maps, look for the Puerta del León because that's where everyone's queued to get in. And the site is so big, it's right next to the university. There doesn't seem to be a shortcut through the university. I had to go right round the block. So in the end I got here at 25 minutes after the allocated time on my ticket. So there was already a big queue, so I had to go to one of the guards and explain that I only had this 5 minutes left and how I'd got lost. And the good thing was he took me right to the front, so I got in, so that was good. They x-ray your bags at the door. I wasn't sure about backpacks because on the website I read that they don't allow backpacks, which is what I carry. I don't have anything else with me, but they do have lockers. I haven't seen them, but it does say that on the website. I think it said €1 you can leave your bag, and they don't allow tripods or selfie sticks, I don't think. I'm not using those today anyway, but luckily I've been able to keep the backpack. Nobody asked me to leave it because I've got water in it, and I got very dehydrated yesterday, so I need access to my water at all times.
After the Reconquista, which was the Christian reconquest of Spain, the palace was modified and expanded by Christian rulers in the 14th century, and they retain much of the Islamic architectural style with some Christian influences. This was where Christopher Columbus met Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand after his voyages to the Americas, and it served as a centre for Spain's exploration and expansion during the Age of Discovery. The gardens of the Alcazar are a lush, expansive feature of the complex, combining Moorish, Renaissance and modern landscaping. The gardens are filled with fountains, pavilions, orange trees and pathways that offer a tranquil escape from the busy areas of the palace interior.
I'm now in the gardens of the Alcazar. Behind me is a pond for ducks. There's also a lot of peacocks around. I actually found an injured duck. It was trying to swim in a tiny puddle at the other side of the gardens. Now, it is very dry here, obviously they don't get much rain, but this duck was struggling to walk too. Now, I did explain to the security guard, because I was the only member of staff I could see, and he just said to me, oh well, they're wild animals, we are not responsible for them. And there was two Australian ladies there as well, and we decided between ourselves to lift the duck over here back to the pond where it's got plenty of water and it doesn't have to try and walk a long distance. So we put it in there. It's been there a while now. It seems to have settled back in, and there's a little house there for shade for them too. So I think we did the right thing. Just about to cross the bridge to go over to Triana. This is the district I was at last night, and I wanted to come back today to have a look round and get some lunch. I've only got a couple of hours to spare now because a thunderstorm is coming, so I'll go for lunch first and then I'll have a walk around.
Triana is located on the west bank of the Guadalquivir River. During the age of exploration, Triana was a launching point for ships heading to the Americas. The district was home to many shipbuilders and sailors and is often considered the birthplace of flamenco. Triana is also famous for its ceramics and pottery. Since medieval times, it has been a centre for producing painted ceramic tiles that you will see in many of Seville's buildings, churches and palaces. There is a museum here called the Centro Ceramica Triana, which preserves and celebrates this neighbourhood's history of pottery and ceramic craftsmanship. Unfortunately, I couldn't visit as it is closed on Mondays, which was the day I visited this area.
So I've just found somewhere to stop for lunch, and I've ordered courgettes with cheese and honey and some bread. So just behind me here in Triana are the ruins of the Castillo de San Jorge, which is St. George's Castle. This was the headquarters for the Spanish Inquisition for a few hundred years. The ruins now have a market built inside them, but there is a section with a museum. Unfortunately, I can't visit because it's temporarily closed. I don't know why, whether it's having renovations or something, but it is recommended in the guidebooks and that sort of thing. So if you come when it is opened again, it's probably worth a visit.
During the Spanish Inquisition, this alley was the last street that convicts would walk down before being taken to prison or for execution.
I found a nice quiet spot to sit here on the edge of the river on the Triana side of Seville. I just wanted to talk a little bit about tickets and going to the main attractions such as the Cathedral or the Alcazar. I bought the tickets online before I came. Now, I checked again yesterday just to see how busy it was, and yesterday was Sunday and there were no tickets available until the Tuesday, so 2 days later. And this is low season, this is October. I think if you come in high season, you might have to book a couple of weeks in advance. The tickets have all got times on them, so you can't just turn up any time you want on that day. It's got to be at that time, but there is a little bit of flexibility, like I explained this morning when I arrived at the Alcazar, because I was a bit late. So this is to, I presume, just to stop overcrowding in these places. You need to check the rules as well, because there are some rules in some of these historic sites, such as sometimes they say no backpacks. The cathedral it says no shorts, so I went back to my room to get changed because I thought I had shorts on, not very short ones, but they were knee length, and I thought I'm not sure if they're going to let me in. So I went back to get changed, came back out and went into the cathedral, and there were people with shorts on. So I don't know, that's what it says on the website. And the problem is, if they refuse you entry, you then can't get another ticket for a few days. So I would say I would suggest reading the rules and just follow them up front, so you don't risk getting turned away at the door because you won't be able to rebook for the same day.
The Iglesia de Santa Ana, St. Anne's Church, is a 13th century church and is one of the oldest in Seville. It is often referred to as the Cathedral of Triana.
So that's all from me in Seville. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, please check out the other video I have on Cordoba. It's very similar to Seville but on a much smaller scale. Seville is a little bit too mainstream for me. Most of my videos are about lesser known places to visit, but it was nice to do something a bit different. So if you like the video, please leave me a comment and I'll see you on the next one.